Hi and welcome to my review of the Garmin Forerunner 610. Now this watch is the little brother of the current generation 620, so it doesn't have some of the features that watch has, such as VO2 estimation or VO2 max estimation. That one can count your cadence if you have the heart rate monitor attached. This can do this with you if you buy the footpod, so it's not really features that you're missing, but this cannot estimate your VO2 max. And I believe the 620 can also estimate your training time, so it looks at your training and guesses how fast you'll be able to run a 5k and things like that. Although this does have something called training effect, which is quite similar to that. It tells you how hard you're training if you need to ease back. So it goes from 5 to 1, 1 being very easy, 5 being where you need to slow down. So I'll just take a look at this watch. It's not going to be a long review hopefully, but I thought people might be looking at this, comparing it to the 620, seeing whether they should splash the extra money on the 620 or the 610. So I hope I can help you in that regard. So I'll start out by looking at the actual watch itself. The strap here, it's rigid down to about here with what I believe is the antenna. So if you've got small wrists, you might be aware that this bit down here on either side will be open, but I haven't found a problem and my wrists aren't massive. So going on to the build quality, look at this strap, it just looks and feels premium. There's no dings on it, and this metal's really sturdy. When you put it on, you know it's not going anywhere. So then moving around to the front of the watch, it is a touch screen, as you know. So the buttons, you've got the power and the light button, and on the top right you've got start stop. Then the bottom you've got the lap button, or you've got the reset button. So after every race, after every run you've done, you just hold it down for about 3 seconds. That saves your run, which is quite handy if you've run somewhere and you're going to have a break or something, or just eat lunch and you want to run home but keep it as one activity. So you can just let it lock itself, and then when you want to start again, unlock it, press start, and then after that you can reset it and save it as one activity, which I find really handy compared to the Forerunner 10 that every 5 minutes or so you'd have to keep it awake, or else it'd just save your activity. So we'll start off by unlocking the watch. And you just slide your finger across, and it's got this quite little animation of you crawling to running. And then it'll try and locate satellites, but as I'm inside I will turn that off. And I've got this in the settings menu, I've got the backlight to come on when I do things, which I recommend you do as well, because sometimes the contrast isn't that great. So let's talk about the watch. At the top you can see it's got the satellite and it's got the heart rate monitor. It's currently searching for them, and there's the heart rate monitor. Obviously not going to find it because it's not plugged on and it's not detecting the heart rate. To turn that off, or to stop it trying to find the heart rate monitor, you simply go to setup, heart rate monitor, and you need to turn it off. So here's just a sample of the data screens that you get on offer. So this has got time and distance. So you can have between 1 and 4, so I've got 2 on the first one, 3 on this one, 4 on this one, which is quite a lot, 2 on this one, and then just back to the time. But that isn't all, so you can just scroll through like that. You can scroll through either you pressing the button, which goes backwards obviously, or you can tap the screen and go forwards. Which, so if you're running, I usually scroll through, I just tap it without, because sometimes when you're running it is touchscreen, you can't, that's one downside, you can't be there tapping away whilst looking at the pavement. So I just use to tap it, just give it a quick tap with my hand, and I'll look to it in a few seconds once it's switched. The interface is really good. You can use it with gloves, it's worth noting. So into the setup, and it's got the training pages. So this is where you choose what kind of pages you want. And I've got all the pages turned on, but obviously you can choose the data fields. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 different pages that you can customize. You can put alarms. I've not really used that. The heart rate monitor, what we were just on, I find it good. It doesn't really have any spikes that people have reported so far. And also footpod. So if you're, say you're running and want to know your cadence, because if you want to try and speed up, that's one of the key things to try and improve your cadence. You can attach a footpod and get many more data fields. And then you've got your profile, so you put your weight and stuff like that, so it shows you how many calories you're burning. So then here's the actual, I see the nitty gritty. So you can turn the ketones on or off. I like to leave mine on so I know I've pushed the button. Alert tones, and I've also got vibration, because you know when you're running in traffic, this is one of the reasons I went for this. It vibrates, lets you know you've done your lap time or something, because I found with the Forerunner 10 that I had before this, it would beep, which was all well and good, but if there's a massive lorry or something running past, because I do run on quite a few main roads, you're not going to hear it. And then for data recording, I've got it every second. Smart recording, that records, I think believe it's every 3 seconds, or if there's a change, but I prefer every second, so I know that every single minute detail. And also if I'm doing track reps and I just press it, then I want to know as soon as I start it, it's going to start recording, and not when it decides to. So then it's got the backlight, so it's got timeout. I leave it about 8 seconds, and it comes on when I use a key or alerts. And you can also, I believe you can, yes, you can have it just always on. If you scroll down right to the bottom, you can just have it on all the time. Which if you run it at night, I think it'd be a bit distracting, a bit of like a beacon, like come look at me. And then you've got a unit. So with this, you can display in either kilometers or miles. You can change your pace to miles, or your speed to kilometers or miles per hour. Elevation, your position, and your weight is in kilograms, and obviously you can change it to pounds. Now data transfer is on, so literally whenever you sit next to the computer, it'll pair with the AMP Plus enabled computer if you've got a little stick that comes with it. And when with that, if you have the Garmin Express app, which I just have it running in the background all the time, so often I'll be doing work and just look over, and my watch will have like transferring data, and then I'll know to look at my Garmin, or just go on Garmin Connect anyway, and it's usually there, so it's really handy. So really the only point of the actual cradle you get is to charge the watch. And speaking of charge, I find it lasts about 2 weeks use normally, and then I have to give it a charge, but that is really like hitting the barrel. It's got about 5% battery left. So there's a little charging dock, which is only for charging. I do not believe you can sync. You have to do all your syncing with the AMP Plus stick, so don't lose it. So going back out of the settings into the history, this is what I found really good. So say you go on totals, it gives you your total kilometers, and then it also splits it into weekly and monthly, which I find is really handy. So say you can also reset these. So say every time you buy a new set of trainers, I'd be tempted to reset it, so when you get to about 500 kilometers or something, you know it's time to start thinking about changing your shoes if they suddenly start to wear down. Then we'll just look at the activities. So there's not very many, so we'll just load this one. It breaks it down, so at the end of the run it tells you your time, how many calories, and your pace, and also your laps. So you don't, at the end of it, you don't even have to really log on to Garmin Connect unless you want to see your map, which I do find is quite cool. So that's the activities. It breaks them down really, really well on your watch. So you can see this is where basically this is for the totals. So you start your week Sunday, and you can reset them, and you can also choose to upload. So training, this watch has got quite a few things. So if you click ready to run, it just takes you up to the run screen, and then we'll go back to the menu. And on this, it has got a virtual partner. So I'm not sure if you've seen this, but I'll just turn it on. I've used it. It is quite useful if you want to do a warm up at a set pace or something, or just you're having a recovery run and you really don't want to run faster at the start. So you start off, and these two little men will be at the same, and then it'll tell you distance ahead and time ahead, and if you go behind, those will turn black. So you'll know you have to speed up, and it'll tell you how far, but equally you don't have to do it all in one go. You can do it gradually over the time. As long as you just get back to the pace, it will be happy. And then the little man, if you're behind, they'll be running in front of you. But if you're ahead, your little man at the bottom will be running ahead. Which I find it gives you a nice bit of motivation to run if you're not really feeling it. You can set it a bit slower, but still, it makes you keep going. It's not like a race, but it really does work quite well. Then you can have workouts, which I'm not sure if you've seen. So you go on Garmin Connect, and you can make your own custom workouts. So say you wanted to do intervals, is the only one I've got. You just do 4 times 1 kilometer. You get a minute's rest in between, and then it has the distance, rest time, how many reps you want to do. Do you want a warm up? Do you want a cool down? Say I wanted the warm up. Yes, I do. And then it just lets you. Then you do a warm up, and then you click start when you want to actually start the reps. Then it tells you, and it beeps, and it lets you know when to do your next rep, which I find is quite handy, so you don't have to keep track yourself. And also, this watch is a multi-event. So if I click on sport, you can do cycling options. So if you have a few cycling sensors that if you want to go cycling, you can change it to cycling, and it can record things like your power, stuff like that. If you have the equivalent extras attached to your bike, so it's not going to just magic it. So you have to buy the extras, and it's also got virtual racer, so you can create races and race against. So if say I've ran that, and I want to race against that. So say I do say they do the park run every week, and I wouldn't recommend using GPSs because I think the park run's 5k. Just run it and have fun. But say I wanted to race against a marathon course or a known half marathon route that I'm training for, I'd just select that, and then it'd create a race. Then when I set off, it would know and tell me if I'm going too slow compared to that day, which I think is quite cool. It does take quite a while to create the race. So whilst this is running, why would I buy this watch? I think it's a lot cheaper than the Garmin 620. It does basically the same features, not the most, and of course you get the heart rate monitor and you get the heart rate strap. I find the AMP Plus stick for syncing it really useful, so I don't have to keep plugging it in. And this does, I think it believes it can save up to a year's worth of your training if you forget to sync it, which I find is great, or just really don't want to sync it with your computer. That is a really useful feature, I find. And also, it's really, I think it looks quite good on your wrist. It doesn't look like a running watch, well it does a bit. It doesn't look too much like a, this is what comes up because I'm right next to my computer, if it's transferring data across. But it doesn't look too much like a running watch. Like, I see, obviously, it doesn't look like a normal watch, obviously. But it doesn't scream and shout like I've seen, like the Garmin 620, it's bright red, or it's blue. It does shout out, I've got a running watch, which is kind of annoying sometimes. But also, I do like the touchscreen a bit. It is quite a novelty. And overall, I would get this watch. I mean, the history, what my favourite thing is the totals, so it lets you keep track. So say you've just finished a run, and you want to have a look quick before you go home or you're just busy at the evening. You can have a quick look at what you've done, and it just transfers it to your computer when you get there like this. And also, finally, it has got a get you home feature. So if you ask where am I, and then it can take you back to the start. So if you log your position at the start of a run, say you're going for a little fell run, or say you, I don't know, you just parked your car in the middle of a field and you want to get back to it at the end of the day at a big race or something, you can just click where am I, and then it can back to the start. A little compass shows up and it tells you which way to go and the distance, and I found that really useful a couple of times. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I've gone through all the categories. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I would recommend this. As for waterproofness, it is IPX7, so it's rated water resistant, but it is not fully waterproof. So I believe you can submerge it at a metre for I think 30 minutes. I would not go swimming in it because over time, I'm sure it will survive a few times, but over time water will get in. So I'd put it in my swimming cap I've seen, and if it's chucking it down, it will be fine. So basically if it's raining, it's fine. I've seen videos of people putting it in power showers and it's fine, but just don't go swimming in it pretty much. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, ask below, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. I have rambled on a bit, but I hope something I've said has been useful for you.